very interested in oddities. Another time, people would just start filming me. Another time, as I was walking down the street in Kansas City, I was walking with my headphones on, I was walking, and this man said something I couldn't hear. It was a homeless man. He said something I couldn't hear. And so I take the headphones off, I ask him what he said, and then he replies to me, "Back the fuck up, you gay-ass motherfucker." I just want to say that if I was actually ass-fucking this man's mother, I don't think he would have thought I was gay. But more recently, I was in my apartment complex, and I was sitting down studying, and then this woman walks up to me, and she says something very interesting. She says, "Excuse me, are you a gentleman or a lady?" And then I said, "Well, I'm a lady." And she goes back, she walks back over. A little bit later, I go back to study, and she comes back over and she says, "Excuse me, if you're a lady, how come you have a mustache?" And I said, "Well, haven't really thought about it. I guess, that's hormones that God made me." And then she goes back, and then she comes back and she says, "Bill Clinton is staying at this apartment complex. For reference, I live at Chapin. I live in Chapin Apartments. Not the kind of place where William Jefferson Clinton, 42nd President of the United States, would stay if he was in New York. Bill Clinton is staying in this apartment complex. I think you're Bill Clinton." And I then tell her, actually I'm not Bill Clinton. And then she says, "Oh, really? Bill Clinton's 6'1", just like you, because you're Bill Clinton." I was like, no, not a thing. I never thought I would have to aggressively deny the crime of being President Bill Clinton. And then she said, "You're sure you're not Bill Clinton?" Pretty sure that I'm a 24-year-old college student. Pretty sure I'd know if I was the former President of the United States. "Are you 100% sure?" I was actually meeting with Xi Jinping last week, and he said he was not happy with the results of COVID-19 policies in China. "You met the world leader? You must be Bill Clinton." And at this point, I regretted the joke I had made. A friend of mine, after that occurrence, talked to me and said, "Dana, you should be happy with that, because at least she had to ask whether or not you were a lady or gentleman, so you must be passing pretty well." And I guess I should be happy, because, I can pass for cisgender women at least as well as I can pass for former President Bill Clinton, who I don't look like. So, another interesting recent occurrence, not very recent, but let me rephrase that. Speaking of old politicians and trans rights, some of you peeled back from me right there. Some of you went back. You're not sure where I'm going with this. Let me explain. James Baker was the Secretary of State under George H.W. Bush. Very good Secretary of State who was responsible for the Gulf War. The Gulf War was a very successful war economically. He was able to convince the Saudi princes to fund the Gulf War to such an extent that the war, traditionally war is very expensive, was actually profitable for the United States. The war made money for the United States. Yeah, I know what all of you thinking, this is incredibly topical, great job, Dana. The first way you know that a joke is topical is when you have to explain who the Secretary of State was in 1991. Always the sign of a confident, really written joke. But anyways, about 2 years ago, when I was starting PhD, I received an economics fellowship for diversity. Diversity in my case, and in the case of pretty much everyone for the fellowship, has meant American woman. Very interesting definition of diversity. We are a traditionally very oppressed class, as you know. Life can be pretty hard when Ross closes at 5 p.m. on Sundays. It is the crime against our people. I made a lot of money for this diversity fellowship, and I guess what I'm trying to say is I consider myself the James Baker of being transgender. He made going to war in the Middle East profitable. I turn to profit off of this. I traditionally have had a bit of a gambling problem. I don't actually consider it a problem. If a company hires you to do predictive analytics for the sports gambling platform, it's not so much a problem as it is being awesome. But my parents would disagree. They definitely could think I have a bit of a gambling problem. And it's not how much I gamble, it's what I gamble on. So recently, a macroeconomics professor I had, his wife was pregnant. His wife was about to give birth, and I bet a fellow student that he would not cancel classes after the baby was born. Bet him $5, and guess what? Who won $5? Yeah! Won $5. Yeah, I know that sounds bad to bet on a man showing up to work the day after his wife gives birth. But you know, he decided macroeconomics was more important than being a good father. So who's really the bad character in that story? Betting on the behavior of a macroeconomics professor in response to his wife giving birth is to gambling what taking vodka shots at 8 a.m. is to drinking. Yes, it would be okay if you did it some other way, but this just isn't the right way to do that. I'm glad I made that money though, because I recently had a way I needed to spend some of it. I went to the dentist. Anyone in here, show of hands or clap? Anyone here, clap if you've ever been to the dentist after a long time of not going. Yeah, that's a sound you wouldn't have heard had you all been baby boomers. Yeah, it's, you know, it's that mid-20s feeling when you're worried that your teeth just might fall out, overcomes your absolute terror about the idea that you might have to talk to someone over the phone in the middle of the day. I'm just kidding. I did not call someone over the phone in the middle of the day. I left a message like a normal person. Called after hours. So I went to the dentist, and I found out I had 2 root canals and 6 cavities. Has anyone ever had a dentist tell them something is wrong in a non-judgmental way? You know, dentists are not trained for that. You know, they're always like, oh, did your gums bleed because I poked them with a stick? How dare you not floss, you filthy bastard? And we don't allow that from other professions. No one's ever been to a therapist and had the therapist say, oh, did you cry when I called you fat and told you that no one loves you? That's because you haven't been working on your self-esteem enough. But, yeah, with dentists, we definitely allow it. And they always tell you, you know, you gotta floss more, you gotta brush your teeth more. As if, like, brushing my teeth well and flossing were not things I've already thought of. We don't let divorce attorneys come up to you and say, you know, if you were more emotionally vulnerable, your marriage wouldn't have died. Yeah, I didn't realize how much it was going to cost. It cost a substantial amount of money. And I have dental insurance. I'm one of the lucky few who has insurance. Turns out dental insurance does not pay for the surgery. It's like if car insurance only paid for someone to tell you there's something wrong with your car, not to actually fix it. You know, turns out fixing things just not their problem. I find a lot of things are not their problem, that dental insurance. And when I asked for the bill, they didn't tell you the price up front. When I asked for the bill, they said it would be $1,400. You know, that's how out of connection with me those dentists were. They thought $1,400 is just an amount of money I would just like have on me. Yeah. You know, that's just pocket change, $1,400. No one doesn't have $1,400 on them at all times. The weirdest thing, though, about being in a dentist's office is they have the weirdest television channels on there. So, for instance, they have the surfing channel. Just an entire channel where people surf. And there's no commentary. There's no There's no winners or losers. They're just people wiping out, hopes and dreams being crushed. It's almost poetic to just watch someone surf and then lose it. They also have the Annie Oakley channel. That's an entire channel of old-timey movies about Annie Oakley, old-timey TV shows about Annie Oakley, just playing on repeat. What I find hilarious about this channel is it requires so little attention that you can be getting a root canal and still have know everything that's going on. You're just seeing 5% just entirely know what's actually going on. Because every single story in this universe revolves around a townsperson and getting replaced with someone, and then Annie Oakley is shooting her way out of the problem. It is an ad for the NRA, the Annie Oakley channel. So she shoots her way out of the problem to fix this person who has impersonated someone. And honestly, it's very weird to me that no one noticed that this is impersonated. There's 10 people in the town. This is a very small town, and you didn't notice that one of them was replaced with a 300-pound baker? Come on. What I really want to happen while I'm sitting in that dentist chair is I want the dentist to walk onto the Annie Oakley show, and I want him to walk up to one of the townspeople and said, "Oh, you didn't recognize that the town banker had been replaced with a 300-pound man with an eye patch? That's because you haven't been flossing enough. You guys have been great. Have a great night."